Okay, so I'll show you a quick demo of how easy it is to set up a CPOS terminal so that you can take in-person payments. And I'll also show you the section where you can set up the credentials for the online, excuse me, the online payments with CPOS as well. So essentially what you want to do is go to admin and then settings and options. And you can do this in one of a few ways, but you can either type in CPOS and it'll pull up all the settings relating to CPOS. So here, for example, you could choose your default payment gateway. You have options to hide them in the payment pop-up, which I'll explain momentarily, as well as put in your account details for CPOS online payments, and then this button here to add and manage terminals. So I'll go over all these options. The other way to get there, I'll close out of the search, is to use the jump to, or you can just scroll down. But we're going to use the jump to and go to payments and merchants. And from here, you have different payment settings, and so you can go through, and then you'll have settings for CPOS, Stripe, Square, so on and so forth. So in this case, we're focusing on CPOS, so I'll go over that in detail. And essentially, you have your CPOS web payment settings. These would be emailed to you after you sign up. This is for accepting online payments from clients, so you could send them, an invoice link or something like that, and they'll be able to make the payment online. The other option is the in-person payments, and this is with a terminal, so you'd have an actual keypad. The ones that are in use right now are primarily the Newland and the Point systems. They're both great. They're both touchscreen, and they work fantastic. Just depends on your situation, what you're looking for in the actual look of the terminal, and you can talk, about those terminals and the options you have with your CPOS sales rep. So we're going to click on the CPOS in-person terminal payment settings, add managed terminals. We click that. Right now we already have a terminal set up on this test account, but what you're going to want to do is click add CPOS terminal. You click that big plus sign, and essentially it's going to ask you for a name for the terminal. This can be anything you want. It's for your internal reference. It's not something for customers. This is something for you to recognize which terminal that is. If you only have one terminal, you could just call it anything, like default, or you could say, I don't know, shop terminal, whatever you want to call it. It's just for your reference later. The reason the name's important is if you plan on having more than one terminal. This way it'll show you a drop down when you go to process a payment, and you can make sure it goes to the right terminal so you can process that payment. This is helpful if, let's say, at your shop you've got 2 or 3 kiosks to process payment, or if you're a mobile tech and you're out in the field and maybe you've got 5 or 6 subcontractors on different jobs, or maybe you have other employees working elsewhere. They'll be able to process their own payments on their terminals independent of your terminal. Then default terminal, this would just be to select the default one, which will show up first in the list. So if you want a certain terminal to show up first in the list, you can make it the default. Once you've done the terminal name and the default, simply click add terminal. Now you'll have a verification code that's going to pop up on the screen, and it'll basically be this here, but it'll be your unique one. It'll pop up on the screen after you click add terminal. On the terminal itself, you're going to enter that verification code into an app that's on the terminal called the Pick Middleware app. So you'll enter in your code, it'll verify it, and then you'll be able to do a test transaction as well. Now, that's how you add the terminals, but how do you actually process the payment? So we're going to go just click on a demo invoice. This is a demo account, so we'll go to finances, then invoices, and we'll find an invoice that's not fully paid. Okay, perfect. This one has a balance owing. What you want to do, click on plus payment, and then from here you'll see the options that this account has available. Your account may look different depending on your options that you've enabled, but in this case we're going to click CPOS in-person payments, and we'll click right there, and now it pulls up this page here, and we can simply click send to reader, and that will actually send it to my reader. Now, as I mentioned, if you have more than one location and you have multiple, techs on the road, or you have, different places within your shop where people can, make payments, or you want to have the techs, have their own terminal in their bay, or whatever the case may be, you'll have a list here, and you'll click it, and it'll ask you to choose the terminal and then send to the reader. So in this case, there's only one terminal on this account, so it just shows send to reader. I click that, sends it to the reader, and on the reader itself, you can configure them to accept tips as well, and then that'll get recorded automatically for you. So it's really that simple. And you can do this from the edit invoice page as well. So I'll click here to edit an invoice. So here I'm on an invoice, I'm looking at it, and I can click this button here, add payment. It pops up the exact same thing, and I can click CPOS in-person payment. I click that link, takes me here, and this is where you can adjust the amount. Let's say they're only making a payment of $200 towards this invoice, or maybe you want them to pay in full. Those are both of your options. So we can see the balance owing is 515.70. That's what it shows here is remaining. So you can do the full payment, or you can adjust this value to take a smaller payment if needed. And then you just click send to reader. Once you click send to reader, it'll send to your reader, your terminal, and you can process the payment with the tap, swipe, or dip, and then they enter their PIN. There's all those different methods of payment available on the terminals, but that's a really fast way to collect payments within OrbisX that automatically go into your CPOS account. And then CPOS does next day deposits in most scenarios, except for holidays, of course. But then you get to enjoy those beautiful rates. So we're getting members some incredible rates for being members of OrbisX. We've worked out a great deal with them on your behalf. So anyway, sign up for CPOS and you'll get to experience those benefits as well as the smooth transactions of enjoying the send to reader. Now, one final note is that this actually works anywhere in the world, on any device, and it works on the web, desktop, Android, iOS. If you're running a Windows phone, whatever the case may be, this will work anywhere that you have an internet connection and you can connect to OrbisX. You'll be able to go into invoices, plus payment, CPOS, and then send to reader. Now, the reason that's important to know is that let's say you do have multiple locations or you have multiple readers. Let's use this as an example. I've got one office that's head office, and then I've got 5 mobile techs on the road. Maybe for some reason I don't want the techs to actually go and send these invoices and so on and so forth. Maybe head office is going to do it. Who knows? So I can actually have someone at head office, when they get a ping from the tech that's in the in the field, they say, hey, I need you to initiate a payment on the terminal for such and such client. They can actually go in from a different location anywhere in the world, and they could click add payment, CPOS in person, and then they can choose the reader from the drop down list that'll show up here, and then they can do send to reader, and it'll actually show up on their terminal where they are, and they can process the payment, and everything will get sent back and paid correctly. So admin would just leave this page up until that payment's made, and it'll show payment success here, and then they can let the tech know the payment has been made. So that's the cool thing, is that basically anywhere that you are in the world, or the tech is, they'll be able to do this and process payments on that terminal, regardless of having being on the same internet connection or at the same location. So it's super flexible. All right, enjoy.